Now, I've been a huge fan of the Nintendo games since the first time I picked up a Game Boy Advance, and for the next 15 years I learned to love Nintendo as much as any given fan nowadays. And to kick off the premise of the video, I will use a quote from the YouTuber that I am most inspired by, AlphaRad. In a semi-recent video, he says, "Nintendo loves making money, but they really hate making money." And at the time I was like, yeah, because looking at the Pokemon franchise, it could be a lot better. And currently, I realize that most of the issues with Pokemon are not because of Nintendo, but at the same time, the cease and desist of fan games in every major franchise Nintendo owns is because of them. Which just happens to be the first reason of why I think Nintendo hates making money, or at least they hate making their fans happy, if anything else. Because rather than handing out cease and desist like party favors, why doesn't Nintendo just offer some jobs to some of these developers? Or even go as far as to pay them to license the game that they made and make an official installment of their franchise, since 9,000% of the work is already done for them. Now, before you go and reach for the keyboard, I'm not a genius, and I'm not going to pretend like I know all of the hoopla that would go into making everything that goes on behind the scenes perfectly legal, and that everybody involved gets the compensation that they deserve, and whatnot. It makes practical sense in my eyes, at least. And hell, DC and Marvel have done the same thing in terms of fan characters before. The first one that I can name off the top of my head is Arm Fall Off Boy in DC, which is going to be Nathan Fillion's character TDK in the upcoming Suicide Squad movie. I'm sure that it's infinitely more complicated since it's a game franchise, so how about a simpler idea? In the case of Pokemon specifically, there are so many extremely talented artists who have made fake Pokemon, or Fakemon, which are on par, and if not better, than tons of actual Pokemon in the franchise. So, what's a couple $100, or even a couple $1,000, to own the rights to concept art that are beloved by fans? It's a billion-dollar franchise, and buying these fan creations would make people respect GameFreak and the Pokemon Company infinitely more than they do now. And I'm not going to keep going on about it, because I know in the case of fan-made games, it wouldn't be as simple as throwing money at whoever created it and moving on. At least with fan art, it would give the community a little bit more respect for their respective companies. And with the Pokemon games, there are tons of fans who feel like the Pokemon Company are running out of ideas. So if you reach out to your community and listen to them, then you might be able to come up with new ideas, and even new ways to reinvent the franchises. Like with Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, where they reinvented the game by adding new elements to the games. And now on to my next point, which is more or less the reasoning behind the video. The recent topic of hashtag FREEMELEE, which is the cease and desist of Smash tournaments. And now, I'm not going to pretend like I know all the details, and for the most part, it's understandable why Nintendo would do this, given how the Smash competitive community has gone through hell in the last year, with all of these scandals and controversies concerning the pros, and just given that knowledge alone, it kind of makes sense because Nintendo is known to want to keep their squeaky clean appearances. For example, they recently sued a TikTok star who was using their Pokemon branding, which from my understanding is purely just because she had an OnlyFans. But in the case of hashtag FREEMELEE, I'm sure there are other reasons, like how it was going to be hosted on Slippy, but I'm sure that that's not the only reason, like how these tournaments aren't backed by Nintendo, so they're not making any money from these. But honestly, that seems more like Nintendo's fault, since they don't have an official competitive scene for players despite this game being the largest fighting game in terms of sales, and a competitive scene for huge games are pretty much inevitable, because the way that I see it, a competitive scene gets your games out there. Like how with Overwatch, League of Legends, CSGO, and Rainbow Six Siege, they have huge competitive scenes. And these scenes drive their community to get bigger and bigger, which in turn sells more and more games and gets these big million-dollar companies more and more money for their CEOs to pocket for their own profit. But on a serious note, specifically with hashtag FREEMELEE, the game is ancient, but yet it still has a massive fan base, and I know that they'll never remaster it, because it'll affect the spotlight that Ultimate has. Honestly though, I highly doubt it. And genuinely, if it's seriously that important, why don't you just let people play Melee on the official Nintendo online service? Though a small portion of people would end up buying it if it was remastered. Given how low resolution all of that game is, it would make its money back 10 times over, and I'm just lowballing that number. So it's still more money thrust into the capitalist machine that we all know and love. Now, my real point to all of this is more or less, why does Nintendo love to shoot itself in their own foot? when it's concerning some of its biggest franchise. For example, with the Mario Battle Royale thing. A modder had the simple idea of just taking the Mario game and making it a Battle Royale, and a lot of people really liked the game. Then they pulled the classic Nintendo funny move, turned around and copied it, and Mario fans didn't care. They were overjoyed at the fact that this was a thing. But it's only available until March 31st of 2021. Why? Why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense. So what? With Pokemon's Anniversary coming up next year, are they going to release all of the Game Boy Advance releases? Fire Red, Leaf Green, Sapphire Ruby, Emerald? And the catch is, it's only for 2 months. And then with the following Zelda Anniversary, they're going to release Ocarina of Time Remastered, but it's only for 2 weeks. And for Fire Emblem's Anniversary, all the games up until Awakening are going to be in 1 cartridge, but it's only for 3 hours. You better act fast. Like, I get it. Exclusivity drives sales? Or does it? I'm not sure. I'm not a fucking salesperson. Like, they knocked it out of the park for Mario's 35th anniversary. They released 3D Mario All-Stars, and fans everywhere, including myself, went absolutely insane. Mario 64, a banger. Mario Sunshine, a banger. Mario Galaxy, an absolute banger. They didn't miss. But it's all only available until March? What is the point of that? My point is, Nintendo needs to stop and let their community enjoy all of their franchises. Whether it's with exclusivity or the fan-made games, none of this affects their sales. And in the case of fan-made stuff, if anything, these creators are promoting your shit for you, Nintendo. So stop. Get some help. And P.S. Nintendo, if you're listening, please make a Paper Mario 64 remake. Nobody cares about the new ones. I promise you, nobody cares about the new ones. Just remake Paper Mario 64 and be done with that freaking side franchise. Or just make a good one. I'm begging you. And if you guys agree with me, I'm starting a petition. And you can sign that petition by slapping that subscribe button. And make sure to give it a thumbs up so we can get more people to sign it.